Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy V Moss. Quick episode, just to talk about the history that took place this weekend. For those of you who may have missed it, at the Vatican, they had the Grace for the World concert. Big event, co-directed by Andrea Bocelli and, of course, our guy Pharrell Williams to celebrate the Catholic Jubilee Holy Year and promote messages of brotherhood and peace. Concert also featured a ton of other global artists, including John Legend, Jennifer Hudson, Carol G, some others. But it was a big moment, and the message overall of the whole event was focused around the term grace, and in theological sense, it refers to God's unmerited favor, love, and empowerment, offering salvation and a new life through Christ. So that's the backdrop of like the reason why this event was happening. We have a new pope. For those who I'm not Catholic, but we do have a new pope who is from America. So I think that has something to do with the way that this was kind of put together. Obviously, he was there and celebrated. So just want to run through the highlights because it's such a big deal, right? It's such a big deal for us in the space that we're talking about music. We're talking about specifically the musical impact and global impact of Pharrell, and like this is a big global moment for P and what that means to us being kids from Virginia. So, like I said, run through the highlights. The show starts off with Teddy Swim and Andrea Bocelli opening the show with Amazing Grace. I also wanted to point out like this crazy they had a crazy drone show that took place throughout the whole show that you can see on the broadcast. The event was live streamed on ABC News Live on their YouTube. It was on Disney Plus and Hulu, so it was streamed globally all over the world in different places for people to be able to see it, which I thought was important. Pharrell actually did a really good speech where he talked about the theme and talked about grace and how we're all connected, and we can have to start doing a better job of seeing the light in each other and knowing that our light is connected, and we're here as through that theme of brotherhood and fraternity, human fraternity that is connected to the theme of the whole event. So John Legend came out after that. Pharrell introduced John Legend. He did Glory, that was from the Martin Luther King movie that came out a few years ago. And then, of course, the highlight and the main reason why I'm paying attention, right? John Legend is performing and he brings out Clipse. So I was driving. I was back home in Richmond doing some stuff for the foundation, the Virginia Hip Hop Foundation. And so I was in the car when the Clipse came on. I was driving, so I had to park the car because I had to watch this. Like, I had to not be interrupted by this part. So I think the gravity of the moment, honestly, like that was the first time probably since July where hearing birds don't sing kind of hit me. Obviously I've talked about it on the show and talked about it on the episode we did about the Clipse album, about how my dad passed away last year, and just the feelings that you get when you hear that song and connecting with that song about them losing their parents. But like I said, the gravity of the moment of them performing that song out on that stage, like a global stage connected to their religion, which was important not only to their parents, which is the focal point of the song, but also, we know how much it means to Malice specifically. And I think that's also something that I think we take for granted, that it, like, people just assume that it doesn't mean as much to push it, but it does. Like they were raised together, they're brothers, so it's just Malice has a different way of perspective. Malice has a different connection to it, that he speaks more outwardly about it. So I think that just made it more of a moment, and that kind of got to me. That was the first time since July hearing birds don't sing, and starting to get teared up a little bit. So they killed it, of course. After that, it went into a couple songs from Voices of Fire. They did some songs from a new album, which we're going to get into in a second. But for those of you who are not familiar with Voices of Fire, it's a choir that's led by Pharrell's uncle, Bishop Ezekial Williams. They did a whole Netflix docuseries about putting the choir together of the best singers from down here in the 757. And that was in 2020. And so, I think probably their most famous song, which we'll also get to in a second, is Unspeakable Joy, which, was debuted at the first LV show and they were there. So the fact that this is like a movement and, a group that they're keeping, I think it's just unique. And I think it's unique to talk about Pharrell's transition into that space and how Voices of Fire is such an important piece of that. And to have them be incorporated into these big moments that he's had over the past 4 or 5 years, I think is really dope. So this one is obviously makes a lot of sense for them to be in a gospel choir. After a couple Voices of Fire songs and some speeches and some performances by Andrea Bocelli and Carol G and Jennifer Hudson and Jelly Roll, Voices of Fire came back for their final set to kind of wrap up the show. So they did some more new songs from their album, and then Pharrell joined them to come out and do Happy. So like everyone has their thoughts about Happy. Happy is what it is. Like I think I'm the first one to say that when it was out, it got played too much and it made it be an annoying song, but it's a good song. It's a feel-good song, and I thought hearing it at that venue in that space made a lot of sense with the choir behind it. Adam Blackstone had the band help support all the music throughout the night, so it was dope. Like still one of the most iconic 4-count P intros of all time, of all of P's 4-count P intros. But Happy is Happy. It's a dope song. So then after that, Voices of Fire wrapped up the show by doing Unspeakable Joy, which I just talked about being their biggest song. It's a really good song. Like the energy of it is amazing. I wanted to shout out the lead vocalist on that song, Melvet Armand. I hope I'm saying her name right, but she kills it. Like she kills the song, but she killed the performance of the song. Like just a dope moment. So like I strongly encourage you to go back and watch it if you didn't watch it live. Religious or not, like all that aside, like it's still good music and it's still a good moment. I think, for me, hearing and seeing Black faces in that space and hearing, the sounds of the Black church on that stage and like, which is like the ultimate traditionally religious space in the history of the world, I think was an important moment that I hope is not lost on people. So yeah, go back and watch it if you haven't. It was a dope moment. It was cool. Like I'm glad I watched it live just to experience it. Me and my uncle, like my uncle Chuck is a crazy dude. He travels a lot. He was like, hey, he sent me an email on Thursday. He was like, hey, like, let's go. And I was like, Uncle Chuck, come on, man. Like, we can't just, you can as a retired, semi-retired solo man can just pick up and go to Rome. I cannot. Okay, anyway, go watch it if you haven't. But like I said, the timing is still important, right? Like there's strategy and you want to make sure that you maximize your moment. So like one, I say that in the Clipse wrapping up their tour just in time to be able to go hop a flight to Rome and get this done is maximizing the moment. Two, Voices of Fire. Everyone know this big concert, this global concert is coming up. Voices of Fire album drops on Friday. So it was interesting because like, well, first of all, the name of the album is Ophanim or Ophanim. It can be, I think it depends on, I think it's a Hebrew word, so I think that Ophanim might be the Hebrew translation of it, but just so you know the meaning of the title of the album, it refers to the wheels seen in Ezekiel's vision of the chariot in Ezekiel 1:15-21. One of the Dead Sea Scrolls construes them as angels. Late sections of the Book of Enoch portray them as a class of celestial beings who, along with the cherubim and seraphim, never sleep but guard the throne of God. In some systems of Christian angelology. They are one of the choirs of angels and are also identified as thrones. So that's the name of the title. That's the title of the album. Like I said, Maximizing the Moment, the album is not available on streaming. You can buy it. So you can buy it on the website. Like when they announced it, it was like exclusively available on voicesofire.com. You can buy vinyls. You can buy the album straight from the website. You can also buy it on iTunes, but it is not available just straight up on streaming. And so one of our Twitter followers was talking about it, like tweeted about it on Friday morning maybe, because I guess like snippets of it were on Spotify and still are on Spotify and Tidal. Snippets of all the songs, but not the full songs. But now it makes sense because I guess you need I don't know. However, that makes sense as part of the rollout is the snippets are on streaming, but you can't get the full album unless you pay for it on the website or on iTunes. Which is important because if we remember, we talked about this on the show before, let's go back. Virginia just launched the website, virginia.com, blackyagrock.com for the Virginia merch and the Virginia new creative entity that Pharrell's got connected to Black Yacht Rock, the album, which dropped April 2024, which was direct to consumer, a full album that Pharrell just gave us for free, but you can only download it, right? So I think that this is something that is happening that Pharrell has been setting up. And if you because I bought the album obviously so I could listen to it and talk to you guys about it, but also I just wanted to, like, once it came out, I wanted to hear it today. It's Sunday, like good, gospel vibes on Sunday. But on the bottom of the list, the track listing, it says released on Warner with exclusive license to PW Music LLC, which I'm assuming PW stands for Pharrell Williams. So be interesting to see, man, how many more people do this. This is definitely like there's something going on with it, and it makes a lot of sense. Like we talk about this on the show all the time about how the internet has changed, technology has changed how we consume music, but people are big on vinyls again. There was all those different opportunities to buy physical copies of the Clipse album. So I think it's strategy in it. I'm sure there's a strategy in it in terms of generating more revenue, getting more things for people to buy, but also I hope that it's also connected to the fact that, like you want to actually own physical copies of the music that you like enjoy, right? Like, so you have it forever. So interested to see if any more releases from the direct-to-consumer distribution channel, or if any other artists do it. I haven't seen anyone do it. I also haven't really been, just to be honest, like I'm not really checking for a lot of artists unless it's the big guys, honestly. Like, so I wouldn't know if some smaller artists did it, but I'd be interested to see if any big artists follow in the footsteps of what P's been doing to go direct-to-consumer. So just real quick, I'm going to run through my thoughts on the songs after one listen. Not super in-depth, like just some things that I liked about it and things I like noticed about the songs and the way they're constructed and the people that are on them. So first song is The One. They performed this at the show. I love this song because of these 2000s Atlanta snaps that are in it. It's really dope addition to the song. Pharrell has a verse on this song, and his rhyme sounds like a little bit like Childish Gambino mixed with some like Migos triplets in there, but the dope verse from Pharrell. The next song after that is Anywhere. This is another song they performed at the concert at the Vatican. This song actually, like, I think it features Tori Kelly. This song to me sounds like a cool gospel remix to Summer Walker's That Right There that came out in 2021 that Pharrell produced. So I enjoyed that one. And the next song is Business, which features John Legend. They did perform this as well. Another good song, like John Legend's feature on it is, it's John Legend. Like, it's what you expect from John Legend. After that is Miracle Worker. They performed this song at the show as well. A lot of these songs have like a lot of Southern hip hop. Like I talked about the Atlanta snaps in the first song, but I think a lot of them have this Southern hip hop inspiration in kind of the flow, because it's like the the songs are not all just completely sung. Like a lot of it is the choir rapping or like reciting, not necessarily harmonizing, but it's like some kind of actual like borderline raps lyrics. Um, but some of that gives that Southern hip hop inspiration. Like I said, the snaps are cool, but then also like you notice this on the Clipse album too. Like whatever pocket of 808s that P has been incorporating into most of his music over the past like 3-4 years hits so hard. Like that is also very much Southern hip hop. So like that just juxtaposed with the gospel nature of the songs is really cool too. Armor like was a vibe. Like it had very Armor to me had like more like the closest to like a secular like R&B song, but still the message of it was still very gospel. Like I think that might have been my favorite song on the album, just because of the way that was delivered. Next song is "I Forgive You," which is featuring Quavo and CeeLo, which I thought were fitting features for a song titled "I Forgive You," because both those guys have had some issues in the past maybe 5-10 years. Like I know CeeLo had a case that was related to sexual assault that was had him in the news for bad reasons, and Quavo, we all know back and forth stuff with Migos with him, and especially all the drama that happened after Takeoff was killed. So just those guys being able to be in a song about forgiveness, like whether it's forgiving themselves or forgiving people around them or things that have happened in their lives, I thought was probably, to me, that I view that as an intentional placement of those two guys being on the song. So cool moment for them. The next song, Bounce, is really like a dope like modern church revival energy of a song. They performed this at the concert as well. But it just feels like a small like church in the like Mississippi Delta or something. Like it feels like if they were having church in the barn where they in Sinners, like that type of energy. So like yeah, that definitely was what I was talking about earlier. Having black church be on that stage at the Vatican, like especially with this song, was really dope. Next song is Favor. I didn't really nothing really too much to say about that one, but I thought it was cool. Are You Ready was another cool song. Like I said, both of those songs have the 808 in it that I felt like has really been signature. Then there's a song Angels, which again the title of the song is really talking about referencing the concept of angels, so that song is also connected to the title. Then the next song is Won't He Do It, which features Teddy Swims. And then the last song, Okay to Fall. Okay to Fall, like to me was like, I think Okay to Fall was like the most traditional sounding gospel song out of all of them. And then last song is called Reborn, 4-count P, and just a good upbeat ending to the album. So overall, like I didn't really want to go too much in detail with the songs because like one, I just listened to it for one time, but two, I wouldn't necessarily call myself like a big gospel music fan. There's gospel music that I like and appreciate, and that brings me to a point I want to make too. Like, I think it's dope to see this transition, especially with Voices of Fire and the stuff that he's been doing recently, and obviously this moment happening at the Vatican. Like, to see Pharrell kind of get into this Kirk Franklin phase, right? Like, I don't think that we should be surprised by it, but also I think it's dope to see, like, when we talk about, when you think about him in Piece by Piece, there's that scene where you see him being inspired by the music in church with his uncle who's a bishop, right? Like, so it's really dope to see that happen for him. But I want to make sure that, we give Kirk Franklin that credit for how he paved the way for Pharrell to be able to do something like this, where it was the reverse, where Kirk Franklin was tapping into the secular music. Pharrell's going from secular to gospel, but Kirk Franklin took a lot of heat for that, right? Like, he was criticized by people who were traditional gospel spaces, traditional religious music spaces, because he was reaching out to the secular side and having those more R&B and hip hop people be incorporated into music that he was making. And I look at it from the perspective of the positive of how that helped to expand gospel music to reach a new audience, like of people like me who weren't like necessarily listening to a lot of gospel music. But like, I remember seeing the music video for Stomp on BET and MTV in like 6th grade, and like, yo, like this is like fire. Like, this is like a gospel song, like this is dope. So, just having that connection to him through that song, and also like the song Revolution, right? Like, Revolution was on the Any Given Sunday soundtrack, played it in the movie, and like to this day, as a grown up, 40 years old, like I've been places, whether it's R&B parties or whatever, and I've heard DJs have played Revolution, and people my age and even a little bit younger, but like we love that. Like we hear that song and it's like a moment for us, because I think that that's just a perfect example of how our music taste can be so eclectic and so varied. And I think that Kirk Franklin deserves a lot of credit for being able to bridge that gap. And I think that what Pharrell has been able to do with it from his own perspective, I think is another inclination of that, which is dope. All right. So just real quick to wrap up the episode, I wanted to talk about my top 5. I'm going to give you my top 5 Pharrell, Neptunes Gospel, or religious inspired songs. So honorable mentions first. Shout out to Toby and Wigway. I was talking about him, and because he's from Houston, and I spent some time in Houston, so I have like respect for him and who he is to that community. Toby's got the song Lord Forgive Me with Pharrell on it, which they performed together at Something to Water, which was dope in 2022. On the Hidden Figures soundtrack, which Pharrell, I think, completely produced and executive produced, there's a couple gospel sounds on there. Like, Pharrell has a song on there called Abel, which I think has got good gospel vibes. And there's a song with Kim Burrell, who is a gospel singer, called I See a Victory. So those are two of my favorites. And then obviously like the Clipse songs, right? Like, I think the connection to the gospel side and the religious intonations, like the religious references in the Clipse music, I think, like I said, I've said this before, but I think people just don't understand how much it was really incorporated in exclusive audio footage, because most people have never heard exclusive audio footage, like, or people have heard it like after they've heard everything else, right? Like, even me, like, I heard exclusive audio footage after I heard Lord Willin', right? So, and I never heard it in its entirety and it's the sequencing until probably like maybe just 5 years ago, right? So exclusive audio footage got prayers on it. It's got the song Watch Over Me, which is like basically them asking God to watch over them as they're doing what they do in the streets. But of course, that also has set the tone for Mouse's verses on songs like I'm Not You, where he's talking about, his religious belief and popular demand and life change. And, of course, the gospel sound of the new album with Voices of Fire actually being on Birds Don't Sing and, By the Grace of God. And even though the So Far Ahead is like, the energy of So Far Ahead is very much braggadocious, like y'all got to catch up, but it's very much the structure of that song. It sounds like it's got gospel type vibes to it. Okay, so here are my top 5, and feel free to disagree. I think I spent enough time on it. So here's my top five. I'm saying number five, I'm gonna say Pharrell, Abel. Four, I'm gonna say Pharrell, Our Father. Like Pharrell being so like upfront about his connection to religion on that first album, in my mind, like with Our Father, was a big deal. So I think people like that might have caught people off guard, and maybe like it didn't fit the vibe, but like it's still a good song. And I think it also is. I'm talking about top five songs of Pharrell having the gospel inspiration. I had to put that on there. Number three is one of my favorite Neptune songs ever. It's Scarface Someday featuring Faith Evans. It's almost like Scarface having a conversation with God about what's going on in his life and how, his religion is important to him, even what he's doing as a rapper. So go check that one out if you haven't. And then number two, shout out to Kirk Franklin. We talked about him earlier. It's a song called 1, 2, 3 Victory, but there's a remix that Pharrell did that's fire. And again, like I said, the transition from secular to gospel that Pharrell's doing, the reverse of Kirk Franklin going gospel to secular. But that 1, 2, 3 remix was like, it's got the 808s that I was just talking about. Like the vibe of that song is really dope. So that's number two. And then number one, I had to put in Unspeakable Joy. I think Unspeakable Joy is a beautiful song. Like I said, it's very well done. Make sure I don't say her name wrong. Melvet did her thing. She kills it. I think Unspeakable Joy has got a special place in my brain and in my heart, just from like how that was such a great debut for that song, to hear it at the first LV show in that space, in that moment, with that LV show being such a big deal for P, being such a big deal for us, like them being a choir, people from Virginia, and that moment. So Unspeakable Joy is the number one song for me in terms of Pharrell gospel inspired songs. So go check out the album. You gotta buy it. It's $10.99 on iTunes. I think it might be $10.99 on their website too. I'm not sure, but go check it out. Like I said, if you missed the Grace for the World concert at the Vatican, go check it out. It's just a big deal. It's a big deal for us, for the culture, to be on that big stage. And whatever your religious views are, put those aside. If you care about the culture, like, you got to be happy for that moment for the culture. And I specifically am happy for that moment for the culture, from folks from Virginia to be at that. Like, that's a big deal to me. So I said this, made a video about it, said it on Instagram, TikTok, but like, that is just continuing that moment for the Clipse performing Birds Don't Sing at the Vatican with John Legend at that concert is continuing to build this case for the Grammys, that it's gonna be so undeniable. Like, someone commented on the Instagram post about it today. Like, when we get the concert, like when we get the performance of Birds Don't Sing at the Grammys, when they bring out John Legend and they bring out Stevie's the big joker that says, hey, like, this is ours. Let's do it. Wrap it up. So excited for that moment too. Again, so happy to see those guys, P included, but definitely the Clipse, get that moment to tribute to their parents at like such a global moment with the world watching on the biggest stage. Like, it's great for us, and I really appreciate it. So happy I got to watch it. Like I said, go watch it if you haven't already. But appreciate y'all listening. It's been another episode of Neptune Sunday. Peace and love. Talk to y'all later.